Welcome to the Northern New Jersey region of PCA's Trackside Classroom series on YouTube. My name is Bill Gilbert. I'm one of the NNJR chief instructors, and I look forward to sharing with you today some tips and ideas that I hope will help all drivers, but especially those of you with more experience. So this is really targeted at experienced drivers, meaning non-student drivers, those of you in the intermediate and advanced groups. But feel free to take tips away that work for you. But with that, let's dive in. The normal disclaimer that we think these are tips and advice that works, but you use them at your own risk when you're driving on track. So let's talk about vision and situational awareness. And I'm going to highlight a number of ways that vision is much more than your eyes, and knowing where and when to look. And I'm going to provide some tips about ways that you can, in fact, see more. And I would also point out that to go faster, you have to see more if you're going to be safe. And hopefully you'll find some easy tips here. Now, vision's more than eyes. Sure, we look where we're going and there's the line and reference points and all that, but you know that. Next on the list, or maybe before those even, is safety. But, safety is so important, on track, that's a given, but our vision is key to how safe we are. And to be aware of what's around us, vision is the most important single sense we have to do that. So that includes obviously track conditions, flag stations, traffic. But also another aspect is our depth perception. We use that to judge, how far cars away are, how fast they're closing on us, all those kinds of things. Really, really important. But the most important thing here is our vision is worthless unless and until the brain can process what we've seen and we react to it with our hands or feet or both. And so that reaction time is a function of our vision and a function of our experience. This is where seat time, people sometimes say, well, why is seat time so important? Well, because, it takes time to process things. And if it's unusual, it takes longer. If it's something we've seen before, it's faster. So that our vision and our brain, are what keeps us safe on track. So how do we see more? Well, you've heard all of the things. Look ahead, look where you want to go, use lots of reference points, use your peripheral vision, but we can do better than that. So here's a key slide, and some of you have seen this before, I'm sure. This is how our eyes and our brain work together, or how we should use them on the track, if you want to think about it that way. Or said perhaps in a better way, we need to use our brain in all four ways to drive well on track. So our focus is our central vision. It's a small area where the car is going to go. That's because to use our focus, we have to look at something for a second or more. Versus our peripheral vision, we kind of see things out of our peripheral vision all the time. We don't have to focus there because we'll pick something up. A glance, on the other hand, uses that central vision, but now in a different way. For a short, just as the word says, glance, half a second would be a long glance. It's usually a lot less than that. It might be a tenth of a second or a quarter of a second in most cases. And finally, our mental vision, or our mind's eye, our picture of what a corner or a hill or whatever is supposed to look like. These are all really, really critical on track. And here's a deeper dive, if you will, into how those areas work. Notice that the focus area in this very small red, circle is very, very tiny. And again, we have to look. It's where the car is going to go. The driver's looking up track, exactly where they want to go. And notice that, all of these other aspects of our vision, have a bigger range, if you will. So the next circle here is green. That's where we can actually read text. And notice that doesn't include the dashboard in this case. So we have to take, we have to glance at the dashboard or sometimes even focus on it. Well, that's detracting from where the car is going to go. Something to be aware of if you have a lap timer in the car and you're always looking at it. Our ability to see color is a bigger circle, and our ability to see motion is the biggest one. That's our peripheral vision, which is kind of designed to pick up motion more than anything else. Probably has something to do with saber-toothed tigers and human evolution, if I had to guess. Now let's take that model of vision, if you will, and apply it to driving through a corner. And in this case, our focus is, well, we're approaching the turn-in point, and we're heavy in the braking zone, about to get to the turn-in point. So the driver's vision is this small purple pink area which is the apex, right? And the driver is going to pick up the turn-in point out of his or her peripheral vision. But notice the driver has glanced ahead, probably more than once, just to make sure that track out and up track is clear. There's no waving flags, no traffic, that sort of thing. And last but not least, the driver has a clear mental picture of the corner. So the driver knows that if their visual picture doesn't match the mental picture, something's wrong. Perhaps the driver turned in early and now the visual picture doesn't look like the mental picture, or maybe the car isn't exactly where it is right now. The driver broke too late, and maybe the car just feels like it can't make the turn-in point. That could be lots of things, right? But that mental picture is really, really important. So let's change focus and talk about, why would a driver miss a flag? Well, again, it's back to, there's a lot more than just looking at the line. We have to look at all these other things. And what can get in the way is that if we get too focused on, driving the line or going fast or achieving a particular lap time, our brain, has to focus on that, doesn't have the bandwidth left, to pick up what's going on with the track surface, what's going on with the flags, all those things that we all know are really critical. And speaking of flags, it happens too often that advanced drivers miss a flag. A black, probably the most common. Checkered flags, we see drivers miss checkered flags at least a couple of times in an event, sometimes more, sometimes even a yellow flag. And as I've said before, as a chief instructor, there is no excuse that's acceptable. When you come into the pits and have missed a flag, there's no excuse that will sound good to me or any other chief. So if you've ever missed a flag, ask yourself why. Really important to know, what got in the way and to fix it. Here's another example, mirrors. We have to be aware of cars behind, and too often, people aren't. You should never be surprised by a car in the mirror, and you should know what cars are back there so you can give the appropriate pass signals. Now, how do we do that? Well, we use that scanning or that glancing. Remember I said glance. Well, we use the glance to glance at the rearview mirror. And we do that, obviously, when we exit a corner, getting onto a straightaway, in the middle of a straightaway, and at the end of a straightaway, just as we're getting to the braking zone, so that we know how many cars are back there and what to do at the next passing opportunity. And obviously, we want to give signals when we can. Now, the key question is, can we improve our vision and situational awareness? And the answer is yes. Here's some tips. First set of tips are going to be things we can practice on the street, including what we've already talked about, focus versus glance. We can adjust the mirrors. We can use visualization, or what Ross Bentley calls mental imagery, to improve that mental picture. And we can use deliberate practice when we're on track to get our vision skills even better. So let me go through these quickly. How far ahead do we want to look when we're driving, on the street or on the track? Well, on the track, we want to look a long ways ahead, but on the street, how far do we want to look? Well, if we're in a typical city or dense suburban environment, a block ahead at least. And again, this may be your glance that you're looking at. Your focus might be 5 or 6 or 7 seconds, but you want to have glanced 12, 15, 20 seconds ahead. If you're in a more open situation, it could be a quarter of a mile. Most roads we're on, except for blind curves and hills, we can see much further than that. We need to have the habit of scanning 15 to 20 seconds ahead and having our focus 5 to 8 seconds ahead. That's something we can practice on the street. Same thing, look where we want to go. Our focus vision, that 5 to 8 seconds is where the car is going to go. Our eyes should always be focused there, not on what's on the side of the road, or God forbid, something else. If we don't do that, we're asking for trouble. If the mirrors aren't adjusted right, here's how you do that. I'm not going to walk through this in any detail, but what you want is not to have your mirrors like the diagram on the left, but have them adjusted so you have no blind spot. Your instructor should have shown you this at day 1 on the track. If they didn't, now's the time to fix it. And the directions are right here as to exactly how to do it, or ask me or anyone else at the track to show you how to do this, because this is a huge improvement on track and in your daily driving. Second, let's talk about that mental vision, mental picture. This is a complete picture, not just the line. It should include the runoff, the flag stations, the track surface, if there's any sealer, all that kind of stuff. And you can improve this starting with in-car video of a corner and just play it over and over. And don't do the whole track. If you're trying to learn a track better, or you have a corner that you have particular difficulty with, just replay that one corner a bunch of times. And maybe even play it in slow motion initially, then play it in regular speed, and then if you think you're good, play it at high speed and get it really imprinted on your brain. But once you've watched the video, turn it off and visualize it, and repeat that process. And as you're doing that, Ross Bentley suggests that you turn your head, you move your hands and your feet, you imagine the sounds, and make it as real as you can. You can even do the visualization sitting in your car. And this will make you a better driver, and in lots of ways. And to practice our vision skills on the track, we can use what Ross Bentley calls sensory input sessions, or deliberate practice sessions. And so I've given you some worksheets here that you can pick one or more of and use. So for example, the general vision tips or things to focus on that you see in the upper left here. And the idea here is take a session, pick a session and take at least half of that session, maybe the whole session, and do your normal driving, but add to that you want to observe, you want to see everything on and off the track surface, where you observe something new each lap, different, something you've not seen before. Maybe the horizon change is different. And also notice how far ahead can you see? Are you turning your head? Are you looking around the corners? And when you come in at the end of the session, then you write what you've observed on the track map. And here, this worksheet just has the things I just went through listed here as reminders. And you can look at this before you go out, run the session, come back in and make your notes on this session, on this sheet. Here's a couple of variations to focus. If you need to focus on mirrors and safety issues, here are the things to look at. Are the mirrors adjusted right? Did you see how many cars were behind entering Big Bend or entering turn 7 or whatever? What are the closing speeds? Were you able to judge the closing speeds? How far ahead can I see the flag stations? Make those notes on the, and finally, reference points. You've probably done this, but we can always add reference points. And it's a good way to pick up subtle changes in the track surface and look for new features that you haven't seen before. A great way to improve your vision skills and your driving. And those sheets are available online. Here's the link. You can download them right there. So here, this just summarizes those tips. Practice on the street. Focus area at least 5 seconds ahead. Scanning 20 seconds ahead. Use focus, glance, and peripheral. Make sure the mirrors are adjusted right. Practice the visualization, and on track, try at least one sensory input session and see what that does. One caution, or actually several cautions. It's easy to screw up the vision. If we get in a rut, we lose focus, or we may lose focus for other reasons. Pressure can do it. If we're tired or if we're distracted, whether that distraction is something going on at home or work, any of these things are going to detract from your vision and your safety on track, and you need to dial it down or park it until you can solve whatever the issue is. So to summarize, vision is a whole lot more than the eyes. Knowing where and how to look are the basics, but really using our mental vision, our focus, glance, and peripheral vision, that really makes a big difference. And we absolutely have to see more. We have to see more. I've given you ways to practice to do that, whether that's flags, traffic, track conditions, all those kinds of things. And the tips I've given you are easy ones to practice. But we all need to be aware that there are days, or at least times of a day, where we may not be at our best, and those aren't the times, to set a new personal best. They may not even be a time to go on track. So to keep us all safe, just be aware of that. So with that, thank you very much for watching today. If you do have questions or comments, my email is on the screen, gilbert4@rcn.com. Feel free to email me with any of your comments or suggestions, and or see me at the track. I always am happy to talk driving at the track and to answer any questions anyone has. With that, have a good day. I look forward to seeing you at the track very soon.